I'm gonna win a national championship, but I'm only allowed to recruit athletes. I have to build an entire 70-man roster from scratch with them, and it's already difficult enough to attract recruits to North Texas, but only being able to go after athletes makes it even harder. I doubt we'll have any issues finding talent to fill the skill positions, but because very few athletes in this game are meant to be linemen, and I don't think we'll find one that can actually kick the ball, this might be the hardest rebuild I've attempted yet. Now, I made everybody on North Texas a senior, so the only player on next year's roster will be from this recruiting class. 3 athletes were already interested in coming to North Texas, but we are going to need a lot more, and I'm honestly just going to add all of the best ones. Of all the players that I scouted, Tony Miller was the only gem I found, and I figure it's probably smarter to go after players that are more realistic for us to land. Well, after 1 week of recruiting, there's only 5 players out of those 35 that I think we'll be able to get, and the only real guarantee is 5-star Brandon Sanders because nobody else is going after him, and I think he'll end up making for a great QB. Now the real problems arise because we have all of those positions to fill, and I'm just gonna have to go through and find players that have no schools going after them because those are the ones that we're gonna have a decent chance of landing. So the first issue I've run into is at the bottom of the board, there's almost no one left that we can go after, and even when I find gyms like Corey McAfee, there are people like Charlotte that want to go after him, so I can scout these few players, but I don't think we're gonna have enough to fill a team. The current roster even lost to an FCS school, and all of them are gone after this season with guys like this trying to come in and replace them, but I can't keep some of them because we just don't stand a chance. I mean, we're losing almost every recruiting battle, and after a few more weeks, I have filled up the recruiting board, but I still think this is going to be really difficult. We're only in week 5, and there's almost no athletes left that aren't being recruited, so I have a full board of 12 players, but I guess they're all going to have to play both sides of the ball next year. Well, I'm happy to announce the first 2 athletes, Anthony Dixon and Tony Miller, have committed to the program, and in the offseason, I'll have to decide which position suits both of them best. As for the other recruits, some of them we have a good lead on, and other ones are going to be tight battles, and we are even behind on a couple like Zach Carter, but I have no choice but to go after them because when I look up athletes that aren't being recruited, there are 0 matches. I'm going to end up scheduling everybody for a visit against Memphis, and hopefully this week we'll secure a lot more players for us, but we are going to need this result to go our way, and we end up winning by 5. However, that only caused a couple more low overalls to actually commit, and USC is now chasing us for 5-star Brandon Sanders, so there's a good chance that at the end of the day, we are going to lose this athlete. Well, there is a new prospect available, 1-star athlete Adam Harrison. He's a JUCO, but we do need depth, and I don't care that he's a 60 overall. I'm gonna keep an eye out for anyone else we can add like Tony Tyree, and we just signed JUCO 77 overall Anthony Rivas, JT Williams, and 5-star Derek Thomas. The most players I can possibly get out of this recruiting class are now 13, but I think we're gonna lose a few still. But I just noticed all these schools stopped recruiting Ryan Schmidt, so we'll add him to the board, and we literally need every last guy we can get, or players are going to be playing both sides of the ball all game. Unfortunately, the last recruiting update is we lost the 5-star, and we've also been locked out by another player, so we are in big trouble because every single player just left North Texas University. We have transfer requests flooding in, but I can't accept any of them because they aren't athletes, and I'm just going to have to hope this is enough points to get us at least 12 players. I'm honestly confused how we finished with the 43rd best recruiting class, and there are players on here other than athletes. I didn't recruit any of them, as you can see there's only athletes here, but it looks like the game decided we needed some walk-ons, so what I'm going to do is just make all of them 40 overall. Out of all of these athletes we recruited, none of them can play kicker, and it'll be very important that I figure out how these guys can end up playing both sides of the ball. So going into our first year, we have a quarterback, we have 1 halfback, and then we have 2 wide receivers for our offensive skill positions. I've also put someone at center so we can snap the ball, and there's also going to be a right guard, but on defense we have no defensive line, 1 linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, 2 free safeties, and then 1 strong safety. These guys are all obviously going to have to play multiple positions, but that's just where they're starting out. Now, the game did end up giving us walk-ons to fill up our roster, but they're all like 40 overalls, so there's no reason to worry about them. And I've done everything I can to give us an easier schedule, but with this roster, I don't think it's going to matter. Our starting quarterback is literally our kicker and our punter, and our middle linebacker is starting at tight end for us. I feel like there's no way that this team doesn't go 0-12, but just to make sure they get through the year, I'm gonna go ahead and turn injuries off. This team is a 48 overall right now, so we have a lot of work to do with recruiting, and word must have gotten around that we're recruiting only athletes because 4 of them want to come to our school already. Those guys will be the easy ones to land, but last year I learned the hard way by putting 5-stars on the board, and we're just not gonna get them. So this year's goal is to target a lot more 3-star prospects, and hopefully we'll get a lot more players that way. I also don't plan on tracking many games, but I am curious to see how we do against Drake since they're an FCS school and we lost by 38. I think it's it's safe to say the only thing I need to be focused on is recruiting. And this year, I think we have a lot better chance of landing better players. I'll keep you all updated throughout the season, of course. And just know that this rebuild's going to take a while. Also, I just realized for Tony Miller to score a point in his first game, that means he made a field goal. And he has 40 kick power and 40 kick accuracy, so that's impressive in my opinion. But the good news is I've been able to add a 4-star, a 4-star, and a 5-star to the board. And because nobody's going after them, I think we're going to be able to get these athletes. Last year, I got kind of ahead of myself though, so I'm going to sim farther into the year until I can guarantee anything. We scored a touchdown against Louisiana Monroe, which is progress. And we even put up 16 against UTEP. By now, I'm starting to see that we are slipping away on all of these super talented players. But it is what it is, and I'm scheduling everyone for a visit at East Carolina, which probably wasn't a great decision. On the bright side, we're still getting players to commit, and I think we're going to end up having a bigger class this year, but we're also getting embarrassed every week. Week 11 against Tulsa was the closest game we've had by far, and I have no clue how I still have 100% job security. I'm going to go ahead and schedule every last player that needs a visit for this one game against UTSA because they're 1-9, and this season we're barely averaging 7 points a game. I'm going to finally step into a game because I just want to see what it's like to play with this team of all athletes. You can tell that some of our offensive linemen are not meant to be up there, but Derek Thomas is getting wide open. He's one of our only good players, and I'm literally just going to roll out every play with him with Tony Miller and throw it up to him because I think we're going to be able to score. That's a beautiful dime. And listen, it might be on Heisman, but who says we can't win with a team of athletes? Now, the real issue is going to be getting defensive stops because we can't do too much, but I lurked the computer perfectly with Mac, and he's going to take this one back to the crib, assuming he doesn't get caught. Well, after a slow 10 seconds, he made it there, and it's time to kick an extra point with our quarterback, which is going to miss. I simmed the first one and he made it, but that was pitiful, and his kickoffs do go a little bit farther, but they still don't pin back UTSA very well. One thing I can't do with this team is ever run the football, so every time it has to be a pass, and the terrible linemen do a decent job at holding their blocks. To end the first half, I'm going for the end zone. That is a laser. Williams gets down to the 2, and I think we're going to be able to get in here because that's a dot. Now here in the third quarter, we have UTSA on a 3rd and 5, but there's no defensive pressure at all because our linemen are 40 overalls and they're going to convert. Last time I got the stop here, but I can't do it again, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on Chew Clock, which I want to use to burn through the clock, but it looks like Derek Thomas is streaking down the field, and I have to throw that one to him. I've been going back and forth with UTSA, but this 4th and 2 could seal it. All we have to do is pick it up, and that is going to be a perfect throw. This team of athletes is at least going to get one win, as I held the lead as best as I could have, but we still have a long way to go to make a championship. That win led to multiple more athletes committing. We now have about 9 players that are coming in next year, and I still think we're going to get most of these guys besides the ones that are super tight. We ended the season 1-11, but we also ended the year with 4 more commits. Even 5-star Mark Johnson wants to be a part of the program, who can play almost anywhere, and Tony Miller wasn't great for a freshman, but he also did better than I thought he would. I mean, he only has a few teammates that are actually good, and surprisingly, halfback Derek Thomas was our leading receiver. Defensively, our right guard had 104 tackles, and I have no idea why Tony Miller's kicking stats were this good. To end the final recruiting period, I'm going to target these 2 players, and we ended up getting them, along with signing the 14th best class in the country, but you have to keep in mind there's a bunch of players in here that we're just going to cut. I don't put anybody but athletes on the recruiting board, but the AI still signs a few extra players, and that's fine because I just turn them all into 40 overall fullbacks. As for our actual players, here are all of the studs I'll be moving around, and once again, none of these guys are capable of kicking. After rearranging everybody, we have another quarterback and 2 more halfbacks, but I think the best part is our receiving core is finally complete. Additionally, the only missing position on this team is a left tackle. I'm scrolling through everything else right now, and you'll be able to see that we have an athlete in those positions, so it's nice to see that all of that hard work finally paid off because this team is almost complete. Training results are going to be huge for us as they make us even better, and I'm hoping that this year we can get more than 1 win. Now this year I do want to go after some bigger athletes, so I'm going to be searching by squat, so hopefully we can get some more linemen, and I am proud of the team we've built, but it's still only a 67 overall. We probably have at least 2 more seasons before we'll even go out and make a bowl game, but I am surprised with how close our home opener was. We are the higher overall versus FIU though, so I'm not surprised we beat the Panthers. As for a quick recruiting update, I do think we're going to be able to get pretty much every player that we're going to need, but I won't know that until we advance later into the season. Well, by week 8, it looks like we're 2-4, which honestly isn't bad at all, and I have points on 13 different players right now, and we have a lead on every single one. Even though we're not winning games, I am thrilled with how the season's going because we have players committing left and right. Every player left on our board is going to get scheduled for the Tulsa game as well, so I feel like this is a perfect one to jump into. It's nice to see some of our athletes are doing better this year, and even though there aren't that many fans in the crowd, hopefully in a few seasons we'll have a packed stadium because the team will be good. I do not like fourth down situations, but that's going to be a laser. And on this play, they're going to send the blitz at Tony Miller, so he's going to get outside the pocket, he's going to make a guy miss, and he's going to get all the way into the end zone. I feel like this year we can actually play a little bit of defense as well, as that should have been a pick. And the only thing we still can't do too well is run the ball, so it's better if I just pass it like that. Midway through the third quarter, it looks like we're about to take a lead, and I can't believe the run worked. Honestly, we just keep going back and forth, and they're going to get the 2-pointer, which is so frustrating because I've been playing so well and we can't keep up. To open up the fourth quarter, we should get into the end zone here and there's someone open, but none of that will matter if we can't get a defensive stop. It is third down though. I think we have a decent chance to do so. The running back bounced, and of course, someone is wide open up the middle. They ended up finishing that drive with an easy touchdown, and now we have about 45 seconds to get one of our own. So hopefully we can do so, and if we get in here, I am not sending this one to overtime. Somebody is open. He's catching it. And I'm about to throw a very fast ball. Hopefully it works. He's open, but he drops it. We're going to end up losing because of that, and I thought that would end up being the reason a lot of these guys didn't commit to us, but they ended up coming anyway. We ended up finishing 2-10, and the better team around Tony Miller made him have twice as good of a season as last year's. He even made almost all of his extra points, and he even punted a ball for 59 yards. You could also add his 630 rushing yards onto those accolades, and freshman Akeem Thompson was our best receiver. It was nice to not force people to play on both sides of the ball, but we are losing a couple of our best cornerbacks, which does hurt. With the top class in the conference though, along with another one that falls within the top 20, I think we won't have any issues replacing them. This is the most athletes I've ever signed in one class, as I got 18 of them, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but for the first time in this rebuild, we have enough players at every position to start an athlete everywhere, and from now on out, there shouldn't be any issues with getting more to fill in. I'm going to continue to show you all everybody in the background as I click through these players, but keep in mind, this is before training results, which will make this team even better, and I'm excited for that. I mean, we now have 10 players that are over 80 overall, and the coach skill trees are where we're going to get our real advantages, as we can boost player stats with them. With a level 12 defensive coordinator, these players are going to have a lot of boost that they normally wouldn't have, and on offense, I was able to make sure that everybody catches the ball and evades tackles much better. The only issue I have is I'm on the hot seat going into this next year, so it is crucial we start the year with wins over all of these opponents. I'm also going to start redshirting players that we don't need yet, and the only positions we'll never be able to fill are kicker and punter. We got a 75 overall team going into season 4, and I'm honestly expecting us to beat Youngstown State in the opener. We're hosting them and we win by a lot. My job security is at 29%, so we need those, and like I said, if we don't win these first 4 games, I'm probably fired, so against FIU, that's another big win. Off the field, we were also doing pretty well, as I found an 8+ gym, and I'm not really a big fan of the recruits on my board yet, but we'll see where it's at mid-season. We're getting to the point where game results are a little more important, and we take down Wyoming, which ended up boosting up my job security to 83%. Now, Army is undefeated, so I'm not expecting to win this one, and that's about how I thought it would go. Our defense is still much worse than our offense, so I'd love to say that I'm targeting more defensive-minded athletes, but honestly, I'm just going to take anything that we can get. I think I'm going to go ahead and schedule a lot of people for a visit against UCF and jump in to play that game, so hopefully we come out on top of this one. USF is undefeated, so if we could win this game, that would be huge for the program, but man-to-man coverage just clamped us up, and if I'm being honest, I have struggled against their defense. It's been insane, but I think we're going to finally score. I'm literally going to run the same play again, and that's going to be a laser, and I need to stop simming the extra points because Tony Miller is not a kicker, and he makes that one. So you know what? Maybe our quarterback as a kicker isn't too bad after all. He's getting used to it. This ball is still not going too far, but it's much better than his freshman year. Not being able to generate any pressure, though, seems to be our biggest issue on defense, and that route bounce is going to kill us. So honestly, with a minute left in the third quarter, I'm just glad that we're still in this game, but if we want any chance of winning, we cannot have drops like that. They're going to haunt us, and Tony Miller can't get out. I don't like having to punt in this situation, and oh my gosh, I forgot he wasn't a punter. In the end, it turns out our quarterback can't do it all, so we're going to lose. And even though I played, it really wasn't much of a contest. At least we beat Navy the next week, and I'm just going to go ahead and sim up to our last visit week. Well, something must have gone right because we got all of these recruits, and it turns out we're sitting at 5-5, which is not bad at all. I feel like we're so close to making a bowl game, and against UTSA, we're going to win by 10. That should seal it, along with another few players committing to the school, and that means this game against 1-9 Rice doesn't matter anyway, but we're going to lose. I feel like I'm in a position where I won't get fired this offseason, and I've put together an incredible recruiting class, but I wish I could figure out why I can't recruit Georgia George Robinson. Apparently our playing style makes it so I can't recruit him, but he's the one missing out on being a part of this great program. It's time to see which bowl game we made, and we won the Dick Butkus Award, but there isn't a bowl for us to play in. I mean, I am thrilled that we had the best outside linebacker in the nation, but I would have much rather made a bowl game, and I'm sure Tony Miller feels the same way. His kicking stats didn't really improve from last year's, but there is a good takeaway, and that's that he only had to punt it 51 times. Rushing wise, all of our stats look identical to last year's, but we finally had a 1,000-yard receiver, and that's the first time it's happened in this dynasty. Now, the good news is we're only losing 2 players this offseason, and it turns out I signed a top 10 class of just athletes. I mean, obviously the CPU got a couple that we're gonna have to cut, but all the top guys were mine, and there's no way that this next year doesn't go way better than last year. Now, I will admit, a lot of these athletes turned out to be halfbacks or wide receivers, so all of those positions will be great for the long term, but I don't know about the other ones. We're still really short on linemen with a lot of these guys graduating this year, so I'm gonna have to fill all of their roles, and the only good news is, at least from the DB side of things, we're starting to get a lot more players. My biggest concern was always recruiting the big guys as athletes though, so we'll see how that goes. And if I don't get many of these heavy ones, we're going to have a lot of future issues. On the bright side, since we have so many people, I can literally just start redshirting everybody. And I'm super excited to get into my 5th season here, as we're not projected to finish last in the conference. In fact, we've started out 3-0, and I think we're past the point where I have to actually schedule weaker opponents to make sure I don't get fired. This next recruiting class is actually filled up with big boys that will all play up front for us. And since we're undefeated going into rivalry week, we might as well travel to play at our rivals, SMU. This is Tony Miller's final season, and not only were things going well on the field, but off the field, I was doing amazing. My winning streak still hadn't ended on Prize Picks, today's video sponsor, and since the NBA playoffs are officially my thing, I am so confident when placing stuff like this now. Anyways, if you want to join me over on Prize Picks, code BOARD will double your initial deposit up to $100, and throughout the NBA playoffs, they're giving away $1 million every day to one random person that places an entry. So if you're in any of their 30+ eligible states, make sure you sign up with code BOARD, play responsibly, and enjoy the rest of this rebuild. I honestly wasn't expecting to even have a job at this point, but he's the reason I still do. And as you can already see, the offensive line is our biggest issue, but I'm hoping that next year it won't be like that. That was definitely a first half to forget, and it is clear to me what we need to work on and improve this offseason, but I think we can still win this game as Thompson makes a guy miss to get in here, and after forcing a stop, we're getting the ball back. I haven't tried to run the ball much today, but I might as well give Derek Thomas a shot, as he is bouncing this one out for a nice 10. And I feel like there's no way that pressing here could go well for them. It looks like we're going to have somebody deep. It's going to be Edwards who comes down with it. And Tony Miller put that ball perfectly on the money for that catch to happen. He's going to roll out here and throw a dot. And I'd love to say that led to a touchdown, but it is now 4th and goal, and I'm going to throw it away. I panicked in the moment, so we're going to have to get a stop here on 3rd and 9, which we are not going to do. Are you kidding me? There is no way he slipped out of that. Oh, beautiful. The ref is going to bail us out. This time on 3rd and 8, I was more prepared for the run, and that didn't work out for us either, but we're going to hold them short. No, we're not. You know what? We're going to lose this game, and it's going to be my fault. So maybe next time I should just avoid jumping in. At least we've gotten them to a 3rd and 16, and yeah, I doubt they were going to go for the run there. That should have been an interception. There's no way he picks this up. Okay, we were able to bring him down just a yard short, and if we end up getting into the end zone here, I am 100% going for 2. Multiple players are open, but because we have no timeouts, I would have been better off just throwing that ball away, though I think we're going to have a wide open receiver, and it's sailed. Tony Miller just sold. That was going to be a touchdown, but now we're stuck on 4th down, and nobody blocked him. This is what happens when you only recruit athletes for your offensive line, and our undefeated season is going to end here. Now, I will say, I fully expect us to beat 0-4 USF, and I would have been very upset if we didn't, but I am expecting us to come back to reality at some point, so getting another win against Temple is a surprise. Recruiting's definitely gotten easier, as by week 9, I've already gotten 7 of these guys, and at the athlete position, I'm able to find a ton of gems. Even though we were 8-2, by week 12, it seemed like it wouldn't be possible to win the conference, but if we can beat UTSA, all we need SMU to do is lose a couple of times, and we're going to win by 16. It'll end up coming down to how SMU does in these final 3 games, and they're going to lose to Tulsa, but I must be blind because they still have a win, and it turns out they scored 38 points, not 28. For a split second, I was excited, and honestly, I was thinking about cutting it, but you all can keep it, because SMU still lost there, and assuming we beat Rice, which we do by 14, whether or not we make the American Conference Championship all comes comes down to SMU's last result, and they're going to beat Memphis. That's unfortunate, but I'm sure we'll make it there next year. And on the bright side, we're at least ranked 19th in the country. That would be enough to get us the Military Bowl against NC State, and senior quarterback Tony Miller won the O'Brien and the Maxwell. Now, he might have had a career-low field goal percentage, but he only punted it 25 times, and he also rushed for almost 800 yards while Derek Thomas did that. Akeem Thompson also had another 1,000-yard year, and as much as I'd love to win the Military Bowl, NC State's a 93 overall, so that result's expected. The good news is I have earned a new contract at North Texas, so at least they're going to keep me around, but the bad news is a lot of our first athletes are graduating, so there goes my first recruiting class, and a 78 overall freshman's transferring out. I don't know how Tony Miller only went in the 6th round, but he has single-handedly changed this program, and it's no surprise we have yet another good recruiting class full of athletes. This one was also inside the top 25 at number 17, and it's safe to say the future is bright here as I have finally been able to fill up our offensive and defensive lines, making it so for the next few years at least, we won't have to worry about recruiting anyone else. Junior Brett Mitchell is now the face of this team, and he's going to have to play at number 5 Texas this season. We're starting out ranked 37th in the country with an 86 overall team, so this should be our best year yet, and there are a lot of good athletes that want to come to North Texas now. I mean, the roster's loaded with athletes already at running back and wide receiver, so we don't need any more, and I'm hoping we don't struggle in these first 2 games, so I'm just going to send to the UTEP one. Well, it was closer than I thought, but we took care of business against Army, and we also took down Middle Tennessee State, who's apparently our rival, so I'm hoping that we can go out and beat UTEP, which we don't in overtime. That loss will definitely drop us out of the top 25, and I feel like we have to make up for it with a win at Texas. The fun thing about using all athletes is our quarterback is always going to be athletic, and Brett Mitchell is no different, which I think makes him hard to stop because he can get out of the pocket and make plays like this with the open receiver that he misses. That was a terrible example, but hopefully we'll get a stop here on 3rd down to make up for it, and this should be an interception. Look at that. Wilkinson gets back to the ball. That is beautiful. He probably can get close to returning this if he gets the right blocks. He'll go down at the 25. And I'm disappointed in Brett Mitchell right now. But honestly, the main issue is we still don't have a great offensive line, even though we finally got some players, and he's missing that. Our backup quarterback's the punter, and you know there's no way he can hit a field goal from here. He has 43 kick power. That punt's actually decently placed, though. It's going down inside the 1, and I am 100% run committing all over them. They are more than welcome to try to pass the ball. I want to get a safety, which we do. And this is the first time we're playing a team of Texas's caliber, so I want us to come out and get a win. That should have been a touchdown, but it was underthrown. And if I'm being completely honest, I have not been a huge fan of Brett Mitchell yet, but I think he's going to still get us down the field. And I should probably get the option game going with him as well, because he does have some speed. Here on 3rd and 4, I would love to get into the end zone. I think we're going to have a dot here, but he doesn't catch the ball. I might regret this decision after I do it. It is risky to take a field goal, and it is good. It barely snuck in, though, so if we don't get this 3rd down, I'm definitely going for it on 4th, but we will anyway. And 11-3 is such an odd score, but I'll take it. I don't know why Texas's offense has been so terrible today, but we've stopped them a ton. And I thought this one was going to come down to the wire, but we have control of it completely. As with 4 minutes left, we're looking to take a 22-point lead, and that throw's going to do it. I'm honestly surprised at how well our defense played, and all of these athletes ended up committing because of that. We're back in the top 25, and I don't see any planet where we lose to Temple, and I'm just going to go ahead and get us into week 10 so we have a couple more results. We beat our rivals and Memphis without many issues, and with the division on the line against Tulane, I'm definitely playing this game. It looks like we finally have some fans that have shown up as well, and it might have taken 5 years, but we finally have a good product on the field. Now, we do have the green wave on a 4th and inches here. I thought they were going to go for the run. They went with the pass. Everything looks locked up, though, and that is an amazing grab. They honestly deserve to get into the end zone here, which they do, and by the end of the first half, it is not looking great as we're trailing by 10. We have got to get into the end zone here if we want to win this game, and that's a bad sack. The worst part about it is it's out of our field goal range, so we need to score, and I have no choice but to challenge that catch and hope he was in bounds. It looks like his foot was in bounds when he held onto the ball, and the ref is overturning the call for us. That is a picture-perfect ending to the first half. If we can come out on top of this one, we should end up making the American Conference Championship, and you know what? I'm just going to send this ball, and that is going to go perfectly on the money. Brett Mitchell is honestly that guy, and I should have never disrespected him, because as long as we keep getting stops, we should get the win, and I cannot believe Tulane's going for this on 4th and 15 with a halfback draw, but that pretty much wrapped up the game. We ended up both scoring another touchdown or two at the end of it, and the cannons had to go off after that one. Brett Mitchell disrespect will no longer be tolerated, and we should beat every other American Conference opponent, so I'm just gonna sim to the end of the year. Well, maybe I shouldn't have done that because we ended up losing to Charlotte in our final game at home, but on the bright side, we still finished atop our division, so we're still playing for the American Championship, and evidently we get to host it. With the rain coming down this hard, there's a good chance that this will be a very low scoring game, but so far Brett Mitchell has been on top of it, so maybe not. We have them on a 3rd and goal here where they're gonna go with the pass, and I think we're gonna lock up here. Someone take the sack, but we tackled him into the end zone. I thought we were gonna get a stop there, so that's frustrating. Here on 3rd down though, on the goal line, that's another dot. And fast forwarding to the end of the 3rd quarter, we had a 14-point lead, but that touchdown makes it 7 again. And I don't know why, but I just noticed the wind farms in the top right corner. I know we're in Texas, so stuff like that is expected, but this entire stadium is just beautiful. And hopefully I can go out and finish out this game so we can win an American Championship in front of this home crowd. On 1st and 10, I am rolling out, and I think we're gonna have someone deep in the end zone if Mitchell can make this throw, which he does. And I'm honestly just hoping he doesn't declare for the draft so we have him next season. If we blow a 14-point lead in 15 seconds, we didn't deserve to win. And here on the goal line with 11 seconds left, I'm gonna make the tackle, so we should be good, and it's gonna feel nice to win that American Conference Championship. That touchdown doesn't even matter since they scored with no time left, so after 5 years, all athletes have won a conference championship. I honestly wasn't sure if this rebuild would even be possible, but even our quarterback won the Heisman, along with about every other award out there, so I'm gonna try my hardest to make sure he stays for his senior year. I don't care if it's not realistic because I want to win a championship, but it'll be tricky since we're losing our top 2 receiving targets. Senior Pat Warren, who won the butt kiss, will also be graduating, and all I can do is hope we pull it off next season. I'm just gonna sim the bowl game. We're gonna end up beating Clemson, so you can tell that a championship is on the horizon going into season number 6. I really do think it'll be possible since we play in the American, and our star quarterback didn't even declare for the draft, but replacing all of this talent is not going to be easy. However, we did hire an offensive coordinator that boosts 20 different stats for us, and I don't know how I did it again, but we have the number 7 class. I'm not sure how many of these athletes are actually going to end up playing for us next year, but they're on the roster, and I'm starting to be full of quarterbacks and halfbacks, but one of the recruits did benefit us as he is going to be our starting right guard. This should be the highest overall team that we have put together so far, and it's crazy to think about the fact that all 67 players on this roster were recruited as an athlete. Our team overall is coming in at a 90 overall, and I honestly thought we'd be rated higher for having the returning Heisman winner. The good news is we should just fly up the AP poll all year because I don't see us losing, and that one was a lot closer than I thought, but we're still going to beat UTEP, and UAB never stood a chance. We also beat our rivals, Middle Tennessee State, and yes, I threw an FCS school on the schedule for an easy win, and there's nothing you can do about it. Our toughest regular season game should end up being this one, and our undefeated season better not end because of our rivals. This should be our toughest regular season matchup, so I need to take them very seriously, and I honestly don't think we're going to struggle too much on offense, but they are hitting hard. I'm going to attempt to score on every single drive in this game, and so far, we're going to be 1 for 1. I haven't failed yet, but I need to continue the streak by running it in here, and they gave us the ball back with about 20 seconds left in the half, so I think this is where it's going to end up ending, but maybe we can get some points. Our kicker is still a quarterback, so I can't go for the field goal anyway. We need to go all the way down to the end zone, and I hate that I have to do this, but our best chance is probably throwing up the Hail Mary, and I don't even get it off. At least we're going into the half with a lead, and by the looks of it, I think we're going to start the 3rd quarter with another touchdown, as that is a laser. The QB sneak never fails from here, and after getting another stop, I feel like X is going to be wide open here, which would give us an even bigger lead, and that is going to be a dot. Now, the last couple simmed extra points have been missed, so I'm going to attempt one of my own, and it goes in, but kicking's the only thing I couldn't fix with only athletes. I mean, if we're able to blow out SMU by this much, we shouldn't lose in the American, and Brett Mitchell has to be going for back-to-back Heismans. With that result, the rest of these games are getting simmed, and that was probably pretty risky to do, but I was confident in this team to remain undefeated. This time the conference championship is against FAU, and apparently we have the number 1 offense in the nation. I know most of it was through sim, but we're still averaging over 550 yards of offense a game, which is honestly incredible, and obviously it's all because of Brett Mitchell. I think if we end up having any troubles in this game, it'll end up coming on the defensive side of the ball, because so far FAU has looked pretty good. I do want to try halfback toss here because I feel like we should have enough blockers to make this work now, and that's absolutely wild to me because for the longest time in this dynasty, I had to immediately run out of the pocket to avoid getting sacked. Now I feel comfortable just standing in the pocket pocket and finding the open receiver, but missed throws like that could kill us. I'm going to go for the fake because I don't think they'll be expecting it, and it did not work. That was not an ideal ending to the first half here, but I'm going to run in, and he's going to lose the football. I'm going to challenge the fumble just in case he was down, but he wasn't, and he also wasn't even close to crossing the goal line. If we lose this game, it's going to be my fault for not scoring because the defense has been doing a fantastic job. I do want to try to throw them off with a little play action here, see if we can beat them deep, and Mitchell is going to sail that ball a little bit short, but even with it being an underthrow, it still worked out for us as we're going to get in here, and a stop on 4th and 7 would definitely seal it. They go with the run, and they're somehow going to pick it up, keeping them in this game with only about a minute remaining. Now, we are going to lock up here and force a fumble, which they get, but I think it did enough damage as they were forced to take a timeout, and with this onside recovery, we are going to be able to seal the game. This is our second straight American Conference Championship, and I gotta say, it feels better than the first. And we've done all of this while only recruiting athletes. Brett Mitchell went back-to-back with the Heisman, and I ended up winning AP Coach of the Year. This trophy room is one of the fullest that I have ever seen, and it looks like Stephen White ended up taking over as our starting halfback. Junior Dylan Edwards was our leading receiver, and our first playoff game is going to be against the Gators. If we win, we'll play Texas in the championship, and that would be an awesome way to end this rebuild. This place is half full of Mean Green fans, and I think we're going to get onto the board first, but because our receiver just died on the field, we're going to have to try again, and Jeff Perry holds on to it. Here on 3rd and 10, the Gators have yet to score, and I'm hoping we can hold them, which we're going to be able to do, and 3 here is so much better than 7. Also, here's a look at the Rose Bowl, and I wanted to make sure I showed you all that because it does look stunning in this game. Even though NCAA football is so old, they get this stuff right, and now the refs are trying to screw us over. I said something nice about EA in the game, and that's what they reward me with, along with getting a safety. So far, you could say that we deserve to lose this game with the way we've played, but that's an interception to end the half, and because Derek Sullivan couldn't hold on to it, we're going to be going down by 1. Not the ideal ending to the first, but I think we're going to bomb them on the first play of the 3rd quarter, and that is a wide open Johnson. We should get in here with the QB wrap as Florida only had a 3-down line set, and on the 2-point conversion to go up by 7, I threw it to the tight end, which was dumb. I really wasn't expecting it to be such a defensive battle, but their quarterback just broke the sack there and delivered a beautiful throw. So once again, I've gotten them to 3rd and 12, and I'm hoping we can actually get the stop this time as they throw up the ball. This is the interception, right? No, of course not. And he's doing the Gator chomp. If we lose this game, the rebuild's just a fail, but I can assure you, I am not losing this game. As a Kentucky fan that watched us lose to Florida for like 20 straight years, that Gator chomp has triggered some PTSD or something because I am fully triggered and I am going to cheese my way to a victory. Assuming this is not an interception, it's an amazing catch. That's what they get. I have no clue how that worked, but I am not going to complain at all. Edwards gets down to the 1, and we're going to take our lead on Florida right back. For the 2-point conversion, this time I'm going to look at the slant. It wasn't really open, so I'm just going to take off and get it in, and they scored right after. So to win this game, I'm going to need 1 money drive, and that is an interception, which is not good because they have all the control of what happens now. We stop them though, so all of a sudden a touchdown wins it for us. I need to lock in if we want to make the championship against Texas and have our chance at taking North Texas all the way. That was a beautiful back juke though, and Lewis might be able to take this one back to the house. You know, I wasn't really planning on that, but I guess we're gonna have to try getting our defensive stop because as much as I wanted to fall down and chew the clock, I was not gonna risk that. They're starting to make me a little nervous as they're moving the ball down the field. That should be an interception. There is no way that he just got out of that. Now I am definitely nervous because we look like we're in trouble, but that should have been a pick, and that would have been it. That is disgusting right there. We had it and we lost it, and now we need to tackle him in bounds. That'd be big because that's just going to chew the clock, and now they're going with the same play. Again, a tackle in bounds makes the clock run, but he gets pushed out. So with 7 seconds left, they're going to try to get into the end zone. I went man-to-man, and he is going to get in. I want to break this game. I have failed the North Texas rebuild, and it almost makes me want to run it back. Unless we can get a miracle touchdown here. The throw is off, and hang on. Edmonds, come on. You just got to beat a few people. Yeah, that's not it. Well, this is not enjoyable to watch, but I'm not giving up because we got one more season coming. I did not make it this far to let the stupid Gators ruin this challenge, and it's going to be hard because we have a lot of people leaving, but I'm not letting this guy leave. We're going to make sure he wants to stay with his degree. And how on earth was our 2-time Heisman winning quarterback not drafted into the NFL? Whatever, I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to make sure that this team gets right because I feel like we can win a championship still. And honestly, this roster is looking like it's better than any of the ones we've had before. We also got an insane offensive and defensive coordinator boosting our stats even more than ever, and this year I promise it is championship or bust. Starting quarterback Kevin Sykes is also our kicker and punter, and he's a 94 overall, so I have some faith in him. We have a 93 overall team, which is our best rating yet, and I'm honestly just going to sim the entire regular season and pray that we go undefeated. It's time for the moment of truth. I'm a level 28 now, but that doesn't matter. We got some commits. I wasn't recruiting. I simmed everything, and we're number 3 in the country. This officially has to be our last season because the CPU recruited while I just simmed through it all, and I'm not going to lie, I was hoping Florida would end up making one of the top 4 spots. Now, those are subject to change because we're in conference championship week. I'm going to sim ours, and we're going to get the win, but I don't think that should be a surprise because apparently we had a Heisman candidate again. Quarterback and kicker Kevin Sykes even ended up winning the O'Brien, and he is certainly no Troy Miller with those kicking percentages. Apparently we had 2 1,000-yard rushers, which doesn't even feel real, and how was there also space for Dylan Edwards to win the Biletnikoff and go for over 1,000 receiving yards? Also, how was our first round game against SMU? Of all the teams, they're the one that made it, and I'm still so annoyed with that Florida loss, so I'm going to try to run up the score. It's already 14-0 to end the first, and to open up the second quarter, I'm looking to make it 21-0 as I am not going to take it easy on them. Look at me making plays and having our running back drop it. That was honestly so painful to watch, and now I'm fumbling the football, and obviously Sykes can't kick it from here, so he's going to have to throw a dot, and he gets another drop. Luckily, I don't think those mistakes are going to matter, because at the end of the day, it took SMU all day to get 17 points. We're going to be moving on to the championship, and it's going to be against the 4-seeded Wolverines. I wasn't expecting them to make it over the Buckeyes, but it's time for this all-athlete team to have one final test. Even though it's 3 a.m., I have got to wake up and lock in if we want any chance of winning this game, and look at Goodard getting a huge run from the start. It looks like this first drive is going to end with some points, and if we could get a stop on 3rd and 5 on Michigan, that would be huge. He didn't throw the ball, but that was the smart decision because I would have picked that off. Now, I would like to respond back pretty fast, and I think we have a mismatch there. That is a linebacker matched up with our wide receiver, and there is no way that he was ever going to catch him. The only reason I feel like we lost the Florida game is because I let them stick around, so I'm going to try my hardest to go up 18. That would be a 3-possession lead that would probably be very hard for the Wolverines to come back from, and I don't know if it's just because I built an amazing team or what, but this game has not felt very difficult. I mean, I'm pretty sure the offense is a 99 overall, so I guess it shouldn't be that difficult to score, but what I'm curious about is if we can hit a field goal with our quarterback, and he can. I guess 43 kick power and 42 accuracy gets it done, and that was a perfect first half. Unfortunately, though, I messed around for a bit, and this is the position we're in. It's now 4th and 6. We're only up by 1 possession, and we have to pick this up if we want to stay in it, and I'm just going to scramble. I don't care at this point. Sykes is going to get down to the 10, because if he didn't get that, we're in trouble, and I've thrown 2 interceptions this half, so it is my fault, but it's also annoying. I was hoping to just cruise to a win and end the video, but that is not the case as it is getting very difficult, and Edwards somehow stayed up from all of that, but I'd love to just get in here, get that 2-possession lead back, and Sykes does it. Now, the only thing between us and the championship is pretty much just one more stop, and I wish I would have just scored a little bit more in the second half because then we wouldn't even be in this position. This is definitely the biggest 4th down in North Texas school history, and we are going to hold Michigan. So even though Florida ruined our hopes and dreams last year, it might have taken us 7 seasons, but we are going to get it done. North Texas is your national champion, and let me know in the comments which rebuild challenge I should attempt next because this was a fun twist.